JT, this is wild. That Budds Creek, this is awesome. What happened here?
Yeah, it was so flashback to 2022. And this toy was presented and we had them up on, and I was so jealous. I've always wanted one of these Lego style toys, and come around 2023, I'm surprised with this thing on Friday. And I have it on my, with all my trophies and things that I hold dear now. And it's it's a little things like that. But, it's been so long since I raced now to have things of my best race ever was that 2006 Budds Creek. To have that presented to me was, that was special. I really, really appreciated that.
Yeah, that's Block's MotoX putting those together. Yeah, at Budds Creek, he showed up last year in 22 with one for James Stewart, and it was kind of designed to look like James when he famously jumped Larocco's leap on a 125. It's one of the all-time famous photos of the sport. And we found a somewhat equivalent leap that even Stu himself captured the attention, because in qualifying, when Hayden Deegan turned the finish line double into a triple, Stu could not focus on the monitors any longer. He caught it. And great job by our crew to have the cameras rolling in our booth to catch Stu catching this. And then that caught wildfire once he started doing it in the motos, Hayden Deegan, on social media, because everyone in the infield was shooting that on their phones or their video cameras. It was unbelievable, this jump.
Yeah, so I was interviewing Levi Kitchen, who was the fastest qualifier. So after the second qualification, he comes up and the first thing he asked me before, we're not live yet. This is off camera. He goes, Did you see the thing Hayden's jumping? Is anyone else doing it? I don't want to do it. Like, is this something I'm going to have to do? And I'm like, whoa, no, I don't think anybody else is going to do it. I don't think anybody else wants anything to do with that. So it was so interesting to see the other riders react to this insane jump that I think they were all worried about. If everyone started doing it, I'm going to have to do it now, and I don't want to do that. So, leave it to Hayden Deegan to pull off a jump that's not meant to be jumped. He is innovating things like James Stewart would do, right? James was famous for that, of putting sections together that were not designed to go that way. I think it just speaks to the talent that Hayden Deegan is. And I also thought it was ironic, if you look back on Hayden Deegan's 2022 debut at this track, he crashed his brains out and DNF'd the moto trying to do a jump, not this exact jump, but a similar jump, right? He's trying to put sections together that weren't really meant to be put together. And it just shows the progression. This year, he's pulling those things off lap after lap.
Let's give you an update on Austin Forkner. So we had talked about his rapid return to the sport, and then suddenly he was on the verge of making the playoffs. And then almost as if it was scripted, he and Styles Robertson, who are fighting for the last spot to get into the playoffs, are battling in the last moto of the year, and he crashed hard. Luckily, he's okay, and I still think he'll get in with a shot as an alternate through the LCQ, which is a tough road to go, but nobody wants to see Forkner hitting the ground again.
No, and you could say lots of things about Austin Forkner, but you can't say that it's boring. This guy has given us so many ups and downs throughout his career, and true to form, as he's battling to get into this playoff contention, he has another big one. Thankfully, he got up, and I saw him posting on his Instagram that he's relatively okay, and I do think we'll see him get in Charlotte. There's a lot of hoops to jump through with the alternate, process there, but to have Austin Forkner in this lineup, and I think he would likely qualify. This is a multi-time Supercross winner. He could really shake things up. Maybe a bad gate pick, but that's okay. Those Pro Circuit Kawasaki's seem to have their starts figured out.
That's our next topic. A whole bunch of them. Shimoda, not normally known as a good starter, they really improved toward the end of the year. And then Rodder DiFrancesco pulling 2 whole shots on the day. I think Seth Hamaker was up there each time. Something's up. You actually talked to Mitch Payton. They've made some improvements.
Yeah, I spoke with Mitch, and he said that they found a setting just before the Southwick National, and that really turned the corner on their starts. And I was very curious to see if that was something, because a lot of times you'll have engine parts that just won't work for Supercross. They don't create enough torque, or it's really towards the top end of the RPM range. But thankfully for that team, no, this is something they will be running during the SMX playoffs. Yeah, it's a coup to Mitch Payton to get those up front, and maybe it'll pay dividends in September.
Got something special going there, and they can carry that into the playoffs. Let's show you the standings as they come in. One of those Kawasaki riders to note is that Seth Hamaker did get the job done by only a handful of points here. You'll see that he did move into the top 20. So Hamaker now is into the motos automatically, and the gate picks for those top 20 riders are determined not by your seeding, but by your qualifying time. And Hamaker has speed. So by just getting into that top 20, I wouldn't be surprised if Hamaker wins one of these motos, wins one of these overalls. He's won a Supercross race before. He has speed. We haven't seen it for the 30 minutes, but with his starts and his speed, I mean, he could really be dangerous.
Yeah, I fully expect to see him at the front. Now, whether he stays there or wins or any of that, that's to be seen. But he is a great starter, and we mentioned the newfound power that these Kawasaki's have. I think he's going in with a lot of confidence, right? He doesn't have to worry about the points so much anymore. And with this accelerated points as we go through the 3 rounds, he could really vault up the leaderboard pretty quickly. And there's a ton of money at stake per round anyway. So it's a really nice opportunity here for Seth.
Yeah, one other thing to note in those points is that Justin Cooper did not have any points when the 250 Pro Motocross Series began because he couldn't race 250 Supercross. You see where he is now, solidly in contention, and that's got to make him feel a little better after getting second again in this series outdoors. There's still a lot more to play for. Now, along with the Lawrence brothers' domination, the story right in tandem of that was Honda trying to do what no manufacturer or team had ever done, which is win all these titles that are currently available. Shout out to 1978 Yamaha, who did sweep the titles that were available then, but it was a different class structure at the time. Unbelievable how Honda could not get anything to go right in the 450 class, no matter how much they tried or how much money they spent. And now, Supercross and Outdoors, they've swept both 450 titles.
Yeah, it's funny how it's a little bit of feast or famine, and it sure was a famine there, going on 20 years since they had won a championship, and now they seemingly can't do anything wrong. And I kind of joked that all they needed to do was put Lars Lindstrom in charge earlier and everything would have turned around. But no, kudos to that team. You can really, if you get the opportunity to go by there, you can just stand along the fence line and look, and there's a lot of camaraderie. Everybody likes each other. They're joking around. And I think that's really showing up on the racetrack. Now, it helps to have riders like Chase Sexton and the Lawrence brothers on your team, of course. But I really think that the different atmosphere has attracted those riders, and those results they're playing out, right? You look at any other sport, when the team comes together and everybody's aligned and working towards one goal, good things usually happen. And that just feels like what's happening at Honda HRC right now.
So congrats to Honda for pulling that off this year. Let's talk 450 SMX points. The bubble battle there for the top 20 actually brought riders back to the track. Colt Nichols, Shane McElrath, and Josh Hill came back. This is hilarious. So Hill wasn't planning on racing, but he was driving from his one home in the Pacific Northwest, where his parents live, to his new place where he lives in North Carolina. Hey, why not stop and race? And he ground out 2 points in the final moto of the year. I think he held off Jose Butron by 3. So him racing while Schugel in here made all the difference to not having to race last chance qualifiers.
Yeah, I love that he really didn't tell anyone that he was going to do this, hoping that he wouldn't attract a bunch of other riders that would worry about him and the points and all that stuff. It's funny how the chess pieces are moved around the board here by guys just trying to get into these playoffs. And, you know, we all wondered, how would this go? Would the riders know? Would they understand the playoff picture and the points? And you've seen this evolve. You've seen them have to learn on the fly. And, oh, man, I need to get back into these pro motocross races. And for Josh, yeah, this is going to be a home race now, new home race for him in Charlotte coming up. But to show up, he pulled along the side of the road and did a couple motos on the drive this week just to make sure he had 35 minutes in him. But yeah, just a crazy new wrinkle in all of racing here to see these guys have to just change their summer plans entirely. And we're the benefactors, right? The fans and everybody who loves this sport get to watch, the best racers in the world show up during the summer.
I like how it takes it back to the roots. I mean, look, that's how you grew up, JT. Going to the track and racing your 2 motos on whatever bike or program that you had, whether it was in a semi or on your own. And that's what we saw. A lot of these guys just back to the roots. I'm going to get a bike. I'm going to show up. I'm going to sign up, and I'm going to get what I get. Probably like they did when they were 8 years old. But now it's leading to potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars for them when they get into the playoffs. Now, with the perfect season that we're talking about, obviously great for Honda, great for Jett Lawrence, but I don't want to forget the mechanic. And I remember in 2002 when Carmichael did this for the first time, I felt like Chad Watts, RC's mechanic, was just as much of a talking point. Could he keep the bike together? Now that we've seen a few of these, I think we start taking for granted that that's easy. But you've talked to Christian Ducharme all year long. Like, there's pressure on him too.
Yeah, I think the whole team feels that pressure, right? They don't want to be the reason or have a part of the reason that this comes apart, literally, right? You just don't want that to be a factor. If Jett just gets beat or Chase Sexton steps up, so be it. That's a part of racing. But to have this on the line and to be on the precipice of history and have some sort of mechanical letdown would have sucked the air out of the whole thing. And for a guy like Christian, who it likely wouldn't have been his fault. There are so many people that touch this motorcycle between the suspension and the chassis technicians and the engine department. But yeah, the fans or the uninformed would have thought it's the mechanic's fault. So I'm sure he was nervous every single lap as we got closer and closer here. But to their credit, to the credit of that entire team, no mistakes were made, and Jett brought it home.
We'll show you a little update here with the point standings. Sexton will be the #1 seed coming in, and Jett Lawrence has actually vaulted up to 30, went ahead of Adam Cianciarulo. That's 2 more points for him with our seeding as we get ready for the first ever playoffs in this sport. Make sure you come on out. If you can't, here's how you can watch it. It's a day race. The final motos will begin at 3 p.m. Eastern, and we'll have a pre-race show at 2:30. So you can watch the racing on USA Network, the pre-race show and everything else also on Peacock in the Super Motocross Video Pass. And it all starts with Race Day Live at 9:30 a.m. on Saturday. Dan Hubbard, if you remember Race Day Live from Monster Energy Supercross, and Ryan Villapoto will be your host for that. So if you're with Peacock or the Super Motocross Video Pass, we'll give you everything there. Or if you don't, you can watch the racing at 3 Eastern live on USA Network. It is going to be awesome.
Hi folks, Lee Diffie from NBC Sports here. If you truly enjoyed what you just watched, you can get more news, interviews, and highlights by subscribing to the Motorsports on NBC YouTube page. You can get it all, so go for it.